first few slides is the introduction of my courses also. So it may be feel you boring, but it's also required. Yeah, it's now. I'm Dr. Yasmin. I have done my MRCOG in 2018 November. I'm MS OB-GYN of my country, that is India. This is the building where I got my degree. That's my certificate. And for you, it's a new building now. So this is waiting for you all. This new building, it's a beautiful building. And only one convocation have done till now. Is it doable or is it difficult? Yeah, it's difficult exam because of EMQ. You can think because there's a question is not direct. They are asking in twisted manner. And you, hi Seema, how are you? So remember this. It's a doable. It is not very difficult. First of all, yes, it is doable, and no, it's not difficult. So remember what you have to do if you are properly prepared: clear concept, crisp knowledge. Knowledge should be crisp because in MRCG part 2, there's a two type of question. One is the yes/no question, like they are asking you incidence. So you have to put the incidence directly. That is, if they have asked you, that is, if the patient have the previous abruption, now second time recurrences like 4.4%. So it is fixed. Like if they will ask you, that is a adhesion in vertical incision, if you are going to do laparoscopy, so it is around 50%. So you have to remember this. This is yes and no question. Like the question which is coming from the adolescent gynae, like they are giving you scenario. If they are giving you scenario like the androgen insensitivity syndrome, that's very common. Okay, so this is yes and no question. But if the question they have given you a big scenario, you have to think, then these are the, they will assess you on your clinical judgment, how you will assess the patient in the ward, how you will assess the patient in the like OPD, and how you will treat the patient. That is the thing they are going to assess you. So crisp knowledge is required. Revise and revise. At least 3 to 4 times revise the GTG. Then you are going to remember it. First time, it will go overhead transmission. Remember me when you will read this GTG, because we are not following the GTG. So for us, it's difficult. But if you will read again and again, you will find it. You will find it. It's very interesting. So make your interest and read the GTG properly. Practice and practice. What you will do that choose the SBA and EMQ questions, question books that are available mostly in the groups. Just choose new one. Don't go in the old one. I think 2 days before somebody have asked me about the bladder, how you will repair the bladder. That is Kalavani is given as the 1 layer repair, but it is 2 layer repair. So remember this. These are the differences because they are time to time they are updating the guidelines. So you should update yourself. So don't search guidelines in the groups. Better to go on the directly on the RCOG site, FSRH site, or the PESH guideline. If you are searching, just go on the Google, write down RCOG guidelines or RCOG GTG. You will get the GTG directly on in front of you. Every page it is. I have not taken the what I will say, that is a snapshot of guideline today, because I have done introductory class before also. So just listen that video that is available in the Beat MRCOG YouTube channel. There's a 2 introductory class. One is the NHS, 3 is there. One is the NHS CSP guideline, but it is old one. And second time I have done the new one. So both are available. So just listen them. I have given the brief about the how to read the guideline. Guideline having the, I have not taken that photo. Guidelines have the summary before, and then afterwards they have given you detail. So you have to read line to line guideline. It's very important because you have to find out the important line in between also. So revise and revise, practice and practice. Use your SBA and EMQ book for the practice only. How to do EMQ, how to do SBA. How you will do? You will choose a question module like Eurogynae you are doing, finish your Eurogynae and do all the question of the Eurogynae with the module. It is not like that, but I will read today and I will do after 1 week. You will forget everything. So do side by side. Important is read the question carefully. Question is very important, that what they are asking you. Now, if you have not reached up to the mark, then do again. That is the one thing in this exam. Nobody is going to fail you. They will write to you, I'm really sorry, you have not reached up to the mark. So try again. If you are not able to do this exam in the 1 or 2 attempt, and they are not writing attempt anywhere, if you will get your MRCOG degree, then they will not write anything over it, not your percentages, not your I will say that how many times you have attempted, and they have given you that you can attempt 7 times or 6 times. So why worry? But better to prepare properly and give the exam. And it is easily, you can go through it easily. It's not difficult exam, but you should know the how to do exam. So first of all, control your stress. So people are sitting and just do nothing and saying it is impossible. And if you will connect it, just do it and nothing is impossible. So remember this, just do it. Nothing is impossible. You can do it. Even impossible say, just see, I am possible. Now, this is a girl. Her name is Saima, I think. I forgot her name, sorry. She's the one. Yes, Saima Razi Khan. See, she's the one. I thought before I have done my MRCOG in 14 or 16 months. I have given my exam in November, second part in July, and third in the November again. Sorry, September, July, and after November. But she's the one who has done in the 1 year, 2019. She has given her exam in January, then afterward July, and afterward November 2019. She started with January, she finished with November. So she was my student in part 3 only, not in part 1 and part 2. Part 1 and part 2 she has done by self, no coaching. And OET she passed, and she passed with very good marks. And this is the Beat MRCOG Telegram group. I have so many groups. That is for the part 1. I am helping free. I'm not doing any courses. Part 2 I'm doing courses, and part 3 also. Part 3 for my students only. And this is the Beat MRCOG Telegram channel, where all the material is available. Whatever I am searching, I am just uploading there. So anybody can join, anybody can access this material, and all material is available here. And this is the Beat MRCOG YouTube channel. That's more than 1 year. I have uploaded so many part 3. Part 2 is very less. I think 3 or 4 lecture only. So you can just go through it, or please subscribe it. This is the Facebook group, that is a Beat MRCOG. Now, what about this? Some people want it to happen, but they are sitting and thinking how to do. Some wish it would happen, but we really do this, other make it happen. So please come into group 3 for this exam. And Beat MRCOG, January 2021 was my 4th batch of MRCOG part 2. Till now, we are maintaining 70% of pass rate and keeping finger crossed for the January 2021 batch. These are my students. My first batch, there was one Tamara Darwish. She was Jordanian, and she passed in first attempt, and she got 89% because she was the 3rd year PG student, postgraduate student of her country. Same time she passed her exam also, that master's. So they are following the guidelines only, these RCOG guidelines only. So that was a positive point for her. And 12 students passed that time, and out of this 5 got passed in the MRCOG. They got their MRCOG degree, and rest are waiting for the exam. Second batch, that is also 12 students, that was 70%. Third time, that is a third batch, it's only 6 students pass because only 7 have given the exam, because most of them was deferred and some are waiting for this. And what we are doing 3-time revision before exam. Main course 24 classes, then revision 9 lecture, then crash course 3 lecture, and we are doing mock with every module every weekly. And afterwards, in last month, we are doing alternate day mock, that is a exam like computer based. And all recording you can access online till exam. And these are the mocks. You can just see if anybody will do mock, I will get the result on the same time as they will submit. And this is the average score. You can see that is the important question too. These are 106 questions and 49% is the average score. And how many have taken? That is the 37 have taken. Maybe somebody have repeated, or maybe this is that they will not count, they will count total. So these are the scores, and I will get the scores separately for each student. Now starting from the 29th January, 3 times revision and 70% pass rate, 36 classes, and let's do it. Can pass, will pass. And there's a total fee, $650 for July. And one more thing, in September, July exam was postponed. So I continue my course with them up to September because I have not left them in between. So that is why I have written it's still your exam. So discount is available. One student if joined, it's $50. 2, then 75 each. If 4, then it is $100 each. And old student, that is $300 only. Now we'll talk about the MRCOG. That is, MRCOG exam format is changed. Now it is a computer-based exam, CBT. And that is the one thing you should know about it, that previously you have to pass in the separately in the each section. That is a paper 1 and SBA and EMQ separately, then paper 2, SBA and EMQ separately, but not now. Now there's a 50% marking for the one paper and another 50% marking for the second paper. And SBA will have the 40% of the worth of the total marks. And extended matching have the 60% of the total marks. So if your one paper is not good and another paper is very good, there's a chances of the passing of exam is very good. So remember this. And there is a 3 hours paper, 2 separately, and there's a 1 hour break in between. An exam on the 6th July. To be confirmed, still it is not confirmed. And this is the fee structure according to your country. 5 to 6 months is good enough to prepare, but at least 4 to 5 hours daily. Part 2 MRCOG, they have changed the syllabus. Previously, they are taking the theoretical exam, but now it become more clinical and more practical. Part 2 MRCOG assess the knowledge required for the clinical practice. It examines the 15 core knowledge area in the 4 domains of the understanding that they are key to safe and appropriate clinical practice in the obstetric and gynecology. Remember this, that is the important thing. Now it is more clinical practice. So think about this, that this type of patient will come in my ward, what I will do. Like the patient have the shoulder dystocia. So don't jump over this, okay, what I will do. Think for the call for help first. So that is they are asking, okay, what you will do. Don't forget about the light, position of the patient, everything is count here. So they are asking diagnosis. They will give you only 1 or 2 clues, not a complete scenario. Incomplete 1 or 2 clues only. You have to pick up and you have to diagnose the case. So this incorporate important differential diagnosis and feature of the condition presenting to the obstetric and gynecology. Like ectopic, they will give you to differentiate between the, they will not give you the right side. Mostly if they will ask you ectopic, they will give you left side. So you will not confuse with the appendicitis. Remember this, they are giving clear scenario. Investigation, this incorporate investigation used for diagnosis, monitoring and prognosis, like HMB. If the patient will come, what you will do? So even patient is bleeding, think of full blood count first. Don't jump over the ultrasound or the other different investigation like biopsy and all. So that is, they want to assess you, what you will do. Because patient is bleeding, there's more chances of anemia is there. So assess for anemia first. Management, this incorporates medical, surgical, non-medical management, as well as the importance of the other clinical and non-clinical practitioners. So here important is this, like PCOS patient, if they have given you 31 BMI, so what you will do for this? Don't go for investigation. Just tell her that is a conservative treatment and go further reduce your weight fast. That is the first treatment for the PCOS. If she will reduce 5 to 10% of her weight, she can ovulate. There's no need of clomiphene. There's no need of any other treatment. And no investigation is required if she is already diagnosed. Because you should know about the Rotterdam criteria and 2 out of 3 should be there. So like this, you will do the questions. Epidemiology, that is very important. This includes the incidence, progression, natural history of condition, as well as a prognosis, efficacy, and patient-centered approach. Always remember, patient safety is the first thing. You cannot breach the patient safety. That is very important. And it's your duty. Like nowadays, they are asking in the consent. Like we have read about the Jehovah's Witness. If she have given you advance directive, you have to follow the advance directive. Everybody knows this. But there is age criteria. It's 18. 18 is adult. 18 and above is adult. Nobody can give the consent about for the patient who is 18 and adult. Not a parent, nothing, not a doctor. Doctor can do only in emergency for the good faith. Like she is have the ruptured ectopic, she collapse, you can do without any consent. So like this, you have to rate. And if she is 17, she is the ward of the, what I will say, that is a ward of the court. She cannot die. So, okay, so she cannot refuse for the any treatment. So like this, you will do, and you have to be clear everything in mind. These are the SIPs, that is the capability in practice. This is the now, the module. Nothing you have not missed. It's only, we have discussed about the courses only. So that is a capability in practice. These are the SIPs. Now that is a part 1, part 2, part 3. They have divided according to SIP. That is a capability in practice. So you should be clear. ST1 can do what this, ST1, ST2, ST3, ST5, what they can do, and ST6 and ST7, that is what they can do. So this is, everything is available on RCOG site also. So that is important, that like they are going to assess you in part 2, SIP2, that is a doctor is able to successfully work within health organization. So you should know about the NHS. Number 9, the doctor is competent in recognizing, assessing, and managing emergency in the gynecology and early pregnancy. So you should know about the gynecology, early pregnancy, they are assessing you. What you will do if the patient will come in the emergency, in the early pregnancy unit, or A&E, accident and emergency department. Doctor is competent in recognizing, assessing, and managing emergency in obstetrics, like placenta previa, bleeding, ruptured, VBAC, what he will do. The doctor is competent in recognizing, assessing, and managing non-emergency gynecology and the early pregnancy care, like HMB, vulval disorder, these will come in this. The doctor is competent in recognizing, assessing, and managing non-emergency obstetric care, like antenatal care, like the patient with the maternal disorder, maternal medicine, patient having the medical disorder, how you will do with this patient, how you will treat the patient. So these are the questions. So these 5 SIP, they are assessing in part 2, rest are in the part 3, and part 1 is only SIP 6. These are same SIP, that is colored one only. Now question also changed. Previously question was different. Now they are assessing more clinical scenario. So keep in mind how you will work in the ward and change your mode to the RCOG mode. If you are working overseas, like I'm Indian, I'm working in India. So I will change my thinking to the RCOG mode, because what we are doing, Sometimes it is different, and what they are doing, it's different, because they are strictly following the guideline. No jumping here and there. What to read, that's very important. That is the books they have given in RCOG website, but I don't think the books are very important. You can read directly important all GTG, that is a green top guideline. I told you that is available on RCOG website. Important NICE guideline, it's also available in RCOG website. FSRH guideline, that is a Faculty of Sexual and Reproductive Healthcare. These are all contraception. It's available. If you will type over the Google FSRH, it will come, all pop up. BESH guideline, this is for the PID and or vaginal infection, British Association of Sexual Health and HIV. And you have to read all sexually related diseases. These STIs are very important. Laws in UK, you should know about it, like consent, that's very important. Sexual assault, mental disorder, these all laws you have to read. Abortion law, clinical governance and teaching, this is different thing, because RCOG recommend all doctors should be teacher. So that's the thing, you should know how to do teaching and what type of teachings are there. And clinical governance, how they are doing risk management, audit, and all things will come into it. TOG lasts 3 years at least, because if you will read 5 years, it's very good, but 3 years at least. And important, all talks, all like the MI they are asking, asthma they are asking, headache is asking. So many previous talk are there, that is 2012, 13, 14. Some are important, like the IBS. Some that SIP are important, only few, not all you have to read. But GTG, NICE guideline, FSRH, BESH, you have to read. These are the books. Some books are old books, so don't read the old books. Just take the help of read the GTG and do the question from the old books. All the sources you have with you. You can do question from anywhere, okay? But do your, what I will say, that is read the GTG, that part, and then search all the question and do the question on the same day or next day, okay? Don't after 1 week, otherwise you will forget everything. And make the notes, that's very important. Make a register, make a notes. There's no need to make a notes in detail, but make a notes, like it's very important that this mean this mean this, because in the last you have to revise it. If you will not revise, there will be confusion. So better to make a strategy, to make a notes. Now urodynamics. What is urodynamics? Urodynamics is an investigation, consists of the test of the bladder and urethral function. We are going to test two things. One is the function of bladder and one is the function of the urethra. Urodynamics consists of uroflowmetry, that is a function of urethra, and cystometry, function of the bladder, that is a detrusor muscle. More complex urodynamic investigation, it is not in the core curriculum. They will not ask us. That is a video urodynamics, urethral pressure profilometry, ambulatory urodynamics. These are the higher level. So it is not the level of the ST2 to ST5 or MRCG part 2. Now indication. Indication for the urodynamic. First is the detrusor overactivity. Okay, prior to surgery by the NICE recommendation. If you are going to do like overactive bladder, I think if part 1 student are there, they may not know. Urgency is the first thing. That is the first symptom and characteristic symptom of the overactive bladder. And whenever you have done the urodynamics, the diagnosis will be the detrusor overactivity. This is also keep in mind. It's a clear cut that before urodynamics, it is the it's overactive bladder, and afterwards it is a detrusor overactivity. That flowchart will come, table will come, you will understand easily. Voiding dysfunction, that is a prior to surgery by the NICE recommendation. What is voiding dysfunction? That patient have passed urine and still she is feeling she is full. She has to go again. That is a voiding dysfunction. So remember this. Third one is a previous incontinence surgery. If the patient have the previous continence surgery, now she has the symptom again. Now what you will do? Do the urodynamics again. That is required for her. So these are the main indication, and one more, that is the NTA compartment prolapse. That is a cystocele. It's a very commonly asked question in the exam. Note that is a continent woman who has cystocele repair may develop the new onset stress urinary incontinence. So why we are doing in the NTA compartment prolapse urodynamics? Because there is chances there is a de novo stress urinary incontinence after repair of the cystocele. So how you will give the explanation to the patient? Patient will tell you that I came for you one problem and you have created another problem for me. So that is the thing we are doing urodynamics. So if there is a occult stress urinary incontinence, we can make out. How you will do? You will replace the cystocele and afterwards you will do the urodynamics. So you can easily evaluate the patient about the stress urinary incontinence. So it will not develop later on. Urodynamic is not recommended before surgery in women who report only the pure SUI. Remember, that is it is given in the NICE. That is a pure, that is a stress urinary incontinence is there. That you can evaluate the patient by the history only. You can diagnose this by the history only. The patient will tell you that I have the leakage of urine when I will have the cough, sneeze, moving, when I will move or I will do the exercises. What you will do, you will examine the patient, you will take the proper history, and afterwards you will examine and you can do the cuff test. Just separate the vulva, just see the urethra, and it should be done with a moderately full bladder, not completely full bladder. Moderately full bladder. So just tell her to cough. If she will cough, there will be leakage. You can see in front of you. So that is diagnosed. So there is no need to do the urodynamics. This is the one indication where the NICE recommend direct operation, direct surgery. Otherwise, they will not recommend surgery before doing the, without doing the urodynamics. Sorry. Urodynamics are not required. That is, urodynamic is not required before commencing non-invasive treatment. Like conservative treatment, if you are giving the oral medication to the patient, like the overactive bladder, if you are giving the antimuscarinic drugs to the patient, there's no need to do the urodynamics because they are not going to change your outcome. Urodynamics is not going to help you. So as the outcome of such treatment is not altered. So we are not doing. So remember this. Why the some test is not recommended by NICE? Because they are not going to change the outcome of the disease. That's why they are not recommending to do this. However, urodynamic is not recommended before surgery in women who report only pure SUI that I told you already. Now, prerequisite. That's very important that you know about the prerequisite of all the procedure. Rule out the UTI. That's the only one contraindication is there where we are not doing the urodynamics. That is if the patient have the UTI. How you will do? You will do the dipstick, and if dipstick is positive, then send the urine for the culture. Okay, consent is very important. You will debrief the patient, you will explain to the patient what procedure you are going to do and take a proper consent. So she should know about it. If she will utter I don't want, because it's an embarrassing procedure, so she can refuse anytime, remember. And also third one, patient not taking any medicine which interfere with the test. Like if patient is taking the diuretic, if she has hypertension and she is taking diuretic. So if your patient is taking diuretic in morning, and if you will do 10 o'clock test, the patient maybe have the stress urinary incontinence because bladder is filling very fast. So like this. So these drugs are interfering with the results of the urodynamics. So it should be ruled out. Now this is the urodynamic units. You just see that is a bag. That is a normal saline. It is connected. There's 3 catheters are there. 2 we are putting in the bladder. 1 is either in the vagina or the rectum. It's very easy, not a difficult one. But for patient, it's not what I will say, that is a patient not feel so much comfortable with this test. And this is a computer, and these all transducer are connected with the computer. So we will record reading here. There's two procedure that is we already discussed, that is a uroflowmetry, and second is the cystometry. So cystometry we will do later on. First is uroflowmetry, that is a non-invasive procedure, and that is a specialized commode. The patient will come moderately full bladder, at least 200 ml. At least 200 ml. Okay. Then it is a non-invasive procedure. This is a basic non-invasive urodynamic test. Patient will come and patient will pee only. That is on the specialized commode. And this specialized, like female will sit like this, male will like this. And this is the flow transducer. This recording the flow directly over the computer, and you will get the recording. So this is a simple one. But there's a prerequisite, 200 ml of the urine should be there. So this is a simple non-invasive test where the woman is asked to void into the flow meter or the specialized commode. A graph of flow meter, ml per second, against time is recorded. That is recorded by the machine only. Nothing. We are not going to do anything. And the figure below show a normal graph which is continuous and the bell-shaped. You just see that is a bell shape, and it is a Q maximum is more than 15 ml per second. And that is very important, that the normal reading of the urodynamics you have to mug up. Because like the prolactin level, estrogen level, progesterone level, all hormone level, normal urea creatinine, they're giving on the first paper. Okay. But these tests, uroflowmetry and cystometry, you have to mug up. If you don't know, because they are asking two type of the question, 2-3 type of question. Sometimes they are giving you graph, sometimes they are not giving the graph. So you have to assess what is patient having. If you don't know the normal values, how you will compare? So just mug up it. So peak flow rate, it should be more than 15 ml per second. Flow time is 15 to 30 seconds. That is the time, 15 to 30 seconds. Q max is 25 ml per second. That we have done. In a normal graph, the maximum flow rate should be above 15 ml per second. However, dependent on the volume voided, which should be more than 200 ml for the test to be valid. So this test will be valid only when the flow rate is more than, volume of urine should be more than 200. Now, if you will get like this graph, then how you will assess? See, it should be in 15 to 30 seconds. That is the time. Flow time is 15 to 30 seconds. The patient will start peeing, and it should be stopped in 15 to 30 second time. But here it is very fast. It is finished in 6 second time. So what is the SPEEM? It is superflow seen with the decreased urethral resistance. So urethra is not functioning properly, resistance is less. Second, that this type of graph, this is very commonly asked question. How this will you can assess? So this is an abnormal graph that is having the irregular waves. Why? That is because of obstruction. It may be because of cystocele or urethral kinking or hypocontractile bladder. Can't see graph. That's the way it's over. My slide is not visible. Uroflowmetry. Anybody confirm? Please confirm. Are you able to see this graph? Yeah, there. You can open. Just a minute. I will see.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, okay. You check your, somebody have written, I think you check your net. Maybe internet is not working. So this is the irregular uroflowmetry. So it is because of either obstruction or either because of the hypocontractile bladder. Obstruction means there's a block at the urethra side, but bladder is normal. That is the detrusor muscle is normal. So in this case, whenever there is an obstruction, if somebody is pushing, the pressure will increase. So detrusor pressure will increase. But if the bladder is not proper, like hypocontractile, bladder is not contracting properly, so that means detrusor pressure is decreased. So how you will differentiate according to this graph? If they have given you that is during filling phase or the during voiding phase, that is a detrusor pressure, normally it's more than 75. If it is less than 75 or it is 30, 40, that means it is a hypocontractile bladder. And if it is more like 150, that means there's an obstruction is there. So that will come. But cannot distinguish between two above without measurement of detrusor pressure. If increased pressure, obstruction in the tract. If cystocele or urethral kinking. If detrusor pressure is decreased, then hypocontractile bladder. See in the graph. So this graph, it can happen because of obstruction. Which range? That is male and female range is same. That will come. Another graph is this. That is a sometime it start. The patient start peeing and then stop, again start, again stop, again start, again stop. So that is also again same condition, that is hypocontractile bladder or the urethral obstruction. So they can give you this type, they can give you this type. And you will assess by the detrusor pressure, which type is this. At pressure of more than 40 kidney, sorry, I have not able to read. We'll see. That is during voiding phase, detrusor pressure is always 75 or more. The kidney is not going to affect because the insertion of ureter, that ureter which enters into the detrusor at the trigone, it's a slightly, what I will say, angulated. So whenever there's a detrusor pressure increases, that thing is collapsed. So ureter will, they have the, what I will say, that is a sphincter. Like that sphincter is not present, but the muscle will work as a sphincter. So it will be not a back pressure. Okay, so remember this, that is in the normal. And this one, this is also, there's a uroflowmetry, that is a box-like pattern that will increase and then slow, it's prolonged. So it show plateau seen in urethral stricture or cystocele graph. Again, cystocele graph can be like this. And this is the one question is there. So this is the types of uroflowmetry. That is given in the talk. That is several peak in the Qmax like this sharp peak. That means that detrusor is contracting very quickly and relaxing quickly. So it's caused by the repeated Valsalva maneuver that you are telling the patient during filling phase, that cough, and she's coughing again and again and again. So this type of pattern you will get. Or patient is doing the Valsalva maneuver. Straining leading to fluctuating and intermittent strain. That can happen in the bladder outflow obstruction or unsustained detrusor contraction. Reduced Qmax, that is we have done, that is a 25. A rapid upstroke but reduced Qmax give the plateau. A urethral stricture, external urethral compression, bladder outflow obstruction with the prolapse following the continence surgery. Failure of bladder neck relaxation or acontractile detrusor, that we have done, hypocontractile bladder or urethral obstruction. Any cause of urethral obstruction. It may be cystocele, it may be because of the bladder neck not relaxing, different causes, okay? Very high Qmax, that is a peak, a rapid upstroke and downstroke, possible detrusor overactivity, high speed squinting to overcome an obstruction. Now procedure. Now second procedure, that is you have to measure the post-void residual volume. First, uroflowmetry without any invasive procedure, just patient come and we over the specialized commode, and they will, the machine will give you the reading. Second is measure the PVR, that is the post-void residual volume. How you can do? You can do by ultrasound or you can do by catheter. So post-void residual volume, it should be less than 50 ml, but now TOG is telling that it should be less than 100 ml. So just keep in mind, and somewhere it is given less than 10% of the voided volume. If like patient is voided 600 volume, 600 ml, then it should be less than 60 ml. Like this is the rough idea. Ultrasound, how you will assess? Just take the bladder volume, all three volume, and you will get your machine will calculate how much patient have the urine in the bladder. Okay, just tell her to go and pass out and then check the PVR. And by catheter, just put the catheter, because we are putting the catheter for the cystometry. So afterward, as you will put the catheter, how much urine is come out, that is the PVR only, because the patient already. Okay, TOG is these are the journal of the RCOG. You can serve. So yeah, this is the obs and gynae. These are available on the in the groups also. These are the journals. Like if you are Indian, we are getting the journal from the Foxy. American, like ACOG journals. So these are the journals, and you have to read that topics they have included. That is also come in exam. Cystometry.
Ma'am, in exam, if option is of 50 ml and 100 ml, which one will we choose for post-void residue?
Better 50 ml. Because if they will ask you 100, they will not give you 50. Okay. Because now, everywhere it is given 50 ml, but now recent talk, that is 2019, I think January or April, there's a one that TOG is having, that is saying that is a less than 100. So this is a new one. But always remember, if something is given in the guidelines like GTG and NICE, we are following this first. If nothing we will found, then we are following in the TOG. So TOG is the third option. First is a GTG, second is NICE guideline, and third one is come as a TOG. So remember this. That's why I mentioned. Now, what is cystometry? Transurethral or suprapubic continuous fluid filling of the bladder and measurement of the intravesical and abdominal pressure. We are going to measure only two pressure only. We just fill the bladder. We will measure two pressure, that is the intravesical pressure and abdominal pressure. For female abdominal pressure, we can put the transducer either in the rectum or either in the vagina. So remember this. Cystometry and with the permission to void. So, and with the patient will have the permission to void, or incontinence, involuntary loss. Patient is not able to control and she has passed of the total bladder content. Because sometimes the patient have the urgency, that is overactive bladder. So detrusor overactivity can be provoked or unprovoked. The patient is not able to control. It is an involuntary contraction. So patient has the passed urine by self. Cystometry, before cystometry, perform uroflowmetry that we have discussed already. It is comprising of 3 catheters. I already told you, 2 in the bladder, 1 in the either in the vagina or rectum. 2 in the bladder, 1 for filling the bladder and another one for the pressure recording. So with the one, we are filling the bladder. Second one, we are recording the pressure. Same catheter will measure the post-void residual volume. Because I told you that we will first do uroflowmetry, tell the patient pass the urine, that we have measured already in the specialized commode. Now second, what you will do, either do the ultrasound or just put the catheter, because we are putting the catheter. So same time, the volume which is coming out, that is mean it is a PVR, post-void residual volume. So it is measured, and it is if they will ask you in question, that is what is the definitive method of the measuring the PVR, and if they were given you ultrasound and catheter, so which is the better? Anybody can tell me?
Catheter.
Yeah, catheter, because 100% you are measuring, and ultrasound we are taking the 3. But if they will ask you how you will measure, so go for the non-invasive first. Remember, non-invasive is ultrasound. So that is important. So that you have to read the question properly, what they are asking you. So catheter, because we can measure even 1 ml also. And ultrasound, they may be plus minus always. If you are taking BPD, we are always writing plus and minus this much week is there. And roughly we are taking this first trimester plus minus 1 week, plus minus 2 week, plus minus 3 week. Same here, plus minus at least 10-15 ml is there. So that is important. Okay.
So Dr. Yasmin, sorry, just to make sure we pick, if it come in the question, we pick the catheter for measurement or the ultrasound, which is non-invasive.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if they have asked you definitive method, which is the best method, best method.
Okay.
So best means 100% we are confirmed that this much of urine was left there. Yeah, catheter. But best, and if they are ask you which is the method, so go for non-invasive first, invasive later on. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. So that is a question. Like this question they are asking. One in the rectum, one in vagina to measure the abdominal pressure, and how you will calculate the PDAT, detrusor pressure. So just subtract P abdomen from the P vas, that is vesical pressure, PDAT will come. I think everybody knows because this is the part 1 question. So detrusor pressure, how you will calculate P vas minus P abdomen, or you can calculate is just go this side and become the positive. Now cystometry, what you will diagnose, only 2 things we will diagnose. Remember, if they have given you graph, even they have if they have given you values, normally we are diagnosis. One is normal cystometry, second is the detrusor overactivity with or without incontinence, and third one is the urodynamic stress urinary incontinence. These are the 3 diagnoses only. One is normal, one is DO. DO can be with leakage, without leakage, and urodynamic stress urinary incontinence. Only 3 diagnoses you need to know about it. No more than this. Mixed type, they are not asking. So remember. So diagnosis is detrusor overactivity, urodynamic stress incontinence when leakage at an increased abdominal pressure in absence of detrusor contraction. So remember this. Stress urinary incontinence, detrusor overactivity, true pressure will increase. That is a detrusor and vesical. No abdominal will increase. Urodynamic stress incontinence, in these cases, only 2 pressure will increase, again, abdominal and vesical. No detrusor pressure. So remember this. Only 3 pressure are there. 1 you have to exclude only. That is the detrusor pressure, either plus or minus. So remember. And third one, that is a normal. And record bladder sensation at different bladder volume that you have to ask to the patient. How are you feeling? Are you feeling? That is your bladder is filling. That is like this. You have to question that. And note, important point is to provoke urge incontinence. That is to put woman's hand in the cold water or running tape. And she will suddenly feel, or she may increase the detrusor pressure, and same time she will leak. So that is a provoke or unprovoked. For stress incontinence, ask the patient have to cough. So remember this, if they have not given you that patient have leaked through the cough, during coughing, sneezing, dancing, exercising, if they have not given, that means it is not a stress. If she is leaking when putting the hand in the cold water, that is because of the urge. Okay, like if she have listened the running water, that is a voice of the running water, sometimes patient leak. So that is because of the urge. It is not the stress. So remember this, stress urinary incontinence because of stress, and stress is increased abdominal pressure. Second thing, if she is putting in the cold water, hand in the cold water or the running tape, that means she is having the irritation of the detrusor muscle, and that's a detrusor muscle contraction, and that's why she is leaking. So that is the detrusor overactivity with continence or incontinence. These are the normal values. That is the bladder capacity, 400 to 600 ml. Detrusor pressure, filling pressure less than 15 centimeter of water. Detrusor pressure voiding less than 70 centimeter of water. Peak flow rate that we have discussed already, 15 ml per second. Flow time 15 to 30. Q max 25 ml per second. Residual volume less than 50. Now this is the procedure. You just see that is a 2 transducer in the bladder. That is 2 catheter, not a 2 transducer. 1 transducer, 1 catheter. 1 catheter is the connected to this normal saline, and it should be on the body temperature. That procedure is not important for the part 2. Procedure is important for the part 3. So for part 2, I'm not taking complete procedure. So just they are connecting with this and they are filling the bladder. And afterwards, recording the pressure, one transducer in the rectum or vagina. So it will record rectal pressure or vaginal pressure, that is abdominal pressure. Bladder pressure is vesical pressure, and detrusor pressure we will calculate by subtracting P abdomen from the P vesicle. So this is the procedure, and this is the computer which record and same time give the graph. Now this is the filling cystometry. Cystometry have the 2 part, filling part and the voiding part. Filling part, that the patient have the maximum time where she can hold the urine. So that is the filling pressure. And afterwards, she will tell you that I want to void the urine. Then same time, that is the voiding part. So this is a P abdomen. It is a pressure catheter inserted in rectum, measure the intra-abdominal pressure, P abdomen. Same for vagina. Bladder is a P vas that I already explained you. And P dat you can calculate by just subtracting P abdomen from the P vas. Same, just see, abdominal pressure is 10, vesical pressure is 10. So P dat is 0. So that is the resting pressure. And when the bladder is a voiding phase, like this, abdominal pressure is 10, bladder pressure is 30. So 30 minus 10 is the P dat is 20. So like this, we are calculating. Now, cystometry evaluate both the filling and the voiding phases of the micturition that I already explained you. And these are the different definition are there. That is the International Continence Society definition, that is ICS. Normal bladder sensation can be judged by 3 defined points noted during filling cystometry, evaluate in the relation to the bladder volume at that moment and in relation to patient's symptomatic complaint. And the first sensation of bladder filling that you will ask, when you will feel the first sensation of the bladder filling, she will tell you that now I am feeling like this. Second is first desire to void. That is defined as the filling during the filling cystometry that would lead the patient to pass urine at the next convenient moment, but voiding can be delayed if necessary. She is able to hold. First desire to void, she want to void, but she can hold it. That she can tell you that I can hold it for a longer period of time. Strong desire to void, that is it defined during filling cystometry as a persistent desire to void without the fear of the leakage. And third, that is increased bladder sensation is defined during filling cystometry as early first sensation of bladder filling, early desire to void, and early strong desire to void, which occur at the lower bladder volume which persist. These definitions are not important. These are important to just understand the procedure. Reduced bladder sensation is defined during filling cystometry as diminished sensation throughout the bladder filling that occur in the neurogenic bladder, that partially damaged neurons. So patient may feel the partially. Third is the last one is the absent bladder sensation. So mean that during filling cystometry, the individual has no bladder sensation. So that is a completely neurogenic bladder, and they will give you history. The patient may have the spinal cord trauma, patient may have the multiple sclerosis, like these diseases are there. So she is not able to feel any sensation. And this is the filling phase, bladder at rest, everything is like detrusor is 0, bladder is 10, abdominal pressure is 10. So in person with normal detrusor function, detrusor pressure remains 0 or rises slightly while collecting the urine. It will be less than 15. Remember, always see it should be less than 15. If it is less than 15, it is normal. And these are not increasing. It is slightly increasing. Second, filling phase cough. You will tell the patient to cough because we have to assess the patient's stress urinary incontinence. And how you will assess? You will, during the filling phase, after moderately filled bladder, you will tell the patient to cough or jump or move like this. So the pressure will increase. Bladder and abdominal pressure will increase. Detrusor will not increase, and patient don't have any leak. Even patient will jump. Patient will control her urine. That urethra, if it is competent enough, it will hold the urine in this stress. Even it is increased to this much, 85, 95. So in person with a normal detrusor function, cuff and other maneuver are seen as a sharp rise and fall with the equal transmission to the bladder and the abdominal channel. There is no rise in detrusor pressure. Voiding phase. Voiding phase, all three will increase, but bladder, abdomen will increase less. Only when the patient will strain, it will increase. So in person with a normal voiding pattern, the detrusor pressure rises as the bladder contracts to empty. There is a little or no rise in abdominal pressure except during voiding unless the person strains. If the person is straining, then the abdominal pressure will increase. Otherwise, during voiding, only detrusor and the vesical pressure will increase. Now, this is the cystometry. This is the graph, and it is a normal graph. First of all, we have to see the calibration. It should start from 0. So all pressure are starting from the 0. So machine is working properly. That is for this. Now they have started the filling here. In between, we will tell the patient to cuff. That's CG. See, CG, CG, CG. The patient is cuffing, but there is no leak is there. And also, patient have the normal desire to normal desire to void. And here SG, that is a strong desire to void. When there is this much of the urine is there, that is it's going 125, 250. So normal desire to void, it come at the 250, 375. And strong desire after that. So it's everything is normal. And that is a voiding phase, and patient has voided the urine. And here it is increase, and you see that is a vesical pressure increase and detrusor pressure increase, and abdominal pressure slightly increase. So that is a normal cystometry. Sometimes they are giving you that is with the interstitial cystitis, bladder pain syndrome. That you will see that is it remains normal, but bladder capacity will reduce. How you will assess the bladder capacity? By this. 0, 125, 250, 375, 500. Here the patient will get this normal desire to void at 150 or 200. And strong desire at the 300. And patient is not able to control. So that will be, here you can see that is this is normal desire and this is a strong desire. And the first desire is FD is also there. So by this, we can assess the capacity of bladder. So that is a 500. Up to here, patient is holding. That means the capacity is normal. Now, how to interpret cystometry? I told you only 2 diagnoses we have to do. One is a DO and one is a stress urinary incontinence, not the third one. Third one is normal one. No disease one. Third is no disease one. Normal, we are just excluding. We have done. So here only you have to see the detrusor pressure. So this is the detrusor pressure. It is increasing 2 times. Here it's not a proper graph. That is for the explanation only. So it will be easy to understand. So that is a detrusor pressure increasing, vesical pressure increasing, and patient have the abdominal pressure normal. And patient have the leak with the detrusor pressure. So that is what is the diagnosis? Anybody? Anybody? Not a problem. Open your mic and answer.
Detrusor activity with incontinence.
Yeah, very good. It's a detrusor overactivity with incontinence. Because if they have given you only P, Ves, P, that means detrusor overactivity. But patient having the leak, that is a detrusor overactivity with the incontinence. And how you will differentiate with the stress, urodynamic stress urinary incontinence? By the abdominal pressure and detrusor pressure. Abdominal pressure is normal and detrusor pressure is raised. In cases of urodynamic stress urinary incontinence, abdominal pressure will increase P West will increase and P Det should be normal. So upper and below, just see this. That is which one is increasing. If detrusor is increasing, then is detrusor overactivity. If abdominal is increasing with the vesicle, because vesicle is increasing in both. So if abdominal is increasing, that means urodynamic stress urinary incontinence. So just differentiate. You have to read only two diagnoses. Next one, that is the P, that is a urodynamic stress incontinence. So see here, that is a P abdominis peak, P West is increased, P Dat is a very less. It should be less than 15. Remember, if it will go more than 15, then if 3 will increase, that is a mixed type. Normally, they are not asking mixed type. But if all 3 will increase, then it becomes the mixed type. If 2 are increasing, this is not increasing, and there is a leak. So it is the urodynamic stress urinary incontinence. Now, how to differentiate? Remember, symptom is there. Yeah. Any
Dr.
question?
Yasmin?
Yeah.
Yes, I have a question, Doctor. So you said normally in the part 2 question, they don't ask, they don't give us some pattern that to be addressing the mixed urinary incontinence?
Normally, no,
Normal.
they are not giving. Till now, they are
Whether,
not giving. If they will give,
okay.
you can interpret easily. All 3 will increase. Okay.
If it's okay. But normally there
Yeah.
is not a common question they give. Okay. For this
Yeah,
type.
normally they are not, this is not a mixed one. This is the urodynamic stress urinary incontinence.
Yes, this is very typical. Yes.
Yeah. If it will increase like this, all 3 will increase like this, then it becomes mixed.
Then will be mixed. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
that is
but they are
very
not
clear.
asking mixed, right? So that's why I'm explaining. If you will get, you can easily read it. Okay.
I see. Okay. Yes, yes.
Okay. Now symptoms. Remember, if it is a stress, it's an overactive bladder syndrome. Symptoms. Okay. So OAB is the symptom, and it is a diagnosis before the urodynamics. If you have done urodynamics, then the diagnosis will change on the same scenario. It's a detrusor overactivity. And this is very common question, which is the characteristic of overactive bladder? That is urgency. So this is very common recall. Urgency, frequency, nocturia, urge leakage. That patient is not able to hold the urine. She has to rush to the toilet. Otherwise, she will leak. So this is not stress urinary incontinence because she is rushing to the toilet because of irritation of bladder and the bladder is contracting. And in the way to the that washroom, she leaked. So that is the urge leakage. Remember this. Second thing, detrusor overactivity. That is after diagnosis with the urodynamics, not before. Before is overactive bladder. If you have done urodynamics, now the name will change, detrusor overactivity. Urodynamic definition, that is an involuntary detrusor contraction during the filling phase, which may be spontaneous or provoked. It may occur by itself, or it may be provoked by just dipping the hand in the cold water. Stress urinary incontinence, leakage with the cough, sneezing, or exertion. Always remember, exertion should be there, stress should be there. It's not normal leakage. It should be by some stress. Stress may be in form of coughing, sneezing, moving, doing exercise, dancing, exertion. That is and after doing urodynamics, name will change. That is a urodynamic stress urinary incontinence. It is not simple urinary incontinence, stress urinary incontinence. Urodynamics will come in front of it. Like before doing MBBS, your name is only your name. After doing MBBS, you are doctor. So like this, urodynamics, if they have done, then urodynamics will come in front. Okay, so remember like this. Urodynamic definition, involuntary leakage of urine during increased abdominal pressure in absence of the detrusor contraction. So there's no detrusor contraction. Now these are the questions we'll do. First question is there. Anybody will read? Or I will read? Okay.
Doctor, I can read.
Yeah, you read.
Yeah.
Your name? Your name?
Seema,
Okay, Seema.
I read
You
the
have
question.
you have given exam, Seema.
Yes, doctor, I given, but I want I have one. I was going to ask you one of my mistake, doctor. You know, you said I put the diagnosis overactive bladder, but you said it will be changed to overactive detritus. So this is
Urodynamic.
one of my, yes, this is one of my, it was typically of the like detritus or overactivity, but I put the diagnosis overactive bladder. But you said the
No.
name is changing.
Yeah, if you like remember like this, if you are doing
Yeah,
MBBS, you are putting
yeah,
doctor. So same, if you are doing
yeah.
urodynamics, name is changing. Overactive bladder will change to detrusor overactivity, and stress urinary incontinence will change to the urodynamic stress incontinence.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
Yeah, no.
okay, not a
Okay.
problem. Read.
That's why still I am reading, hopefully.
No,
Hopefully, finger
hopefully you will
crossed.
pass.
Yeah.
Don't problem.
Thank
You
you,
will pass.
doctor. Thank you, doctor.
Yeah.
So question, this is, yeah, a 55-year-old postmenopausal. She came Egyptian woman who previously had insertion of tension-free vaginal tape 3 years back for the termination of her urinary stress incontinence with new symptoms of urinary leakage with physical exertion or coughing or lifting the heavy objects. She is requesting most effective further surgery. She already had the TVT 3 years back, but she started,
She
yeah,
already had a surgery. Now there is a failure of surgery. She is developed again stress urinary incontinence. Now she is asking another surgery. Now what you will do?
So because doctor, in the question you mentioned, we read carefully the question. They are asking, the patient is asking more effective further surgery. And she's postmenopausal. She doesn't care about any family planning further. So we are going to find the best procedure. So I'm
Read
going
the
to
read the answer.
sure,
Read the
doctor.
option. Sorry.
Shall I read all of them, doctor? Okay.
Yeah, I will read. Okay.
I will read.
Yeah, you read.
I will read, doctor. Digital assessment of pelvic floor contractions. Perform quality of life assessment. Filling and voiding cystometry. Ultrasound scan of renal tract. Complete bladder diary. No investigation required. And then repeat midstream urine analysis, pelvic ultrasound scan, urinary catheterization, video urodynamic, urine dipstick test, abdominal X-ray, MRI of pelvis, bladder scan, CT of pelvis, cystoscopy, and pad testing. So the further testing, because she has a recurrence of the symptom post-surgical procedure, so she's having indication of urodynamic study, doctor.
Yeah, where is the answer?
So I will choose the answer, doctor. Give me just few seconds. I read that. Urodynamic. So in the answer we have in the option, the only we have is the video urodynamic.
No.
J? No, wait,
No.
doctor, please give me a second.
I told you, read the question, read the option properly.
Sure, doctor.
Anybody will answering? Anybody
Yeah.
answering?
Filling and wording systometry.
See, ma'am, filling and voiding systometry.
Yes.
Yeah,
Now I found
thank
it.
you.
Yes, doctor. Yes. Option
you,
C,
Gayatri.
doctor. Yes, doctor.
Yeah.
Option C. Yeah,
So
see,
this
is the
time
problem.
Yeah,
we
this is
should
the
read
problem.
the question.
Yeah,
Yes.
in the exam, this is the problem. It is given
are
up to
right.
Q. One of my
Yeah.
student told me that is a 1 up to the T. One answer, one question have the T option, A to T option.
Oh God, yeah.
So that's why you have to read the question properly. And they have not given you urodynamics. They have given you the video urodynamics. And answer is this, filling and voiding cystometry.
That's right.
So read the question carefully. It's required in this exam. This exam is simple, but they are giving you different thing. So they want to assess your promptness and your understanding. That is the required in this. So that is the detailed history and examination. Correct answer is the filling and the voiding systometry.
Filling, yes,
Now
yes.
next question, another one will take. Seema, I know you know this question. So that's why I want another person. Any volunteer, not a problem. Bladder diary you will not keep for this because this is the patient is asking for the another surgery and they have given you the indication it's already surgical failure. So that is a one indication. Whenever there is a
Yes.
surgical method failure and you patient is asking for the another surgery, always give her the urodynamics first. First you assess her symptom because she is already giving you
Ma'am, why
symptom.
not?
Yeah.
Why not urine dipstick test, ma'am? Anyway, prior to surgery, we'll have to do a urine test.
No, that is a definitive. Patient is asking you definitive. That is important in this question because they are not asking you initial
Okay, ma'am.
investigation.
Uh-huh.
They will,
Yes,
they will
yeah.
give you
Okay.
they will
Yes,
give you
ma'am.
initial investigation, confirmatory
Okay, ma'am.
investigation.
Okay.
Okay, so remember
Yes.
this. They
Okay.
are asking patient complaint is she have the failure of the surgery. Now she want another surgery.
That's
Okay.
right. Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay,
So
thank you.
now next question. Read. Who will read? Anybody?
Then I want to try.
Yeah. What's your name?
Reason here.
Okay. Read, please.
Okay. This is a 50-year-old woman presents with urinary urgency frequency more than 10 times during the day and 2 to 3 times at night, which she has bacteria. So she has no urge or stress urinary incontinence. Her filling cystometry trace is shown below.
Yeah. This
So
is the
what
cystometry, and you see me and you tell me what is this?
there's
What
an
is
increase
increase?
in PVAS and also the detrusor muscle.
Yeah. So it is diagnosis is?
Detrusor overactivity.
Wow. Very good. There's no leakage. So answer is, what is the most likely diagnosis? So it is a detrusor overactivity. Wrong, Mega. Detrusor overactivity with incontinence and detrusor overactivity. That's why I'm telling you, read the question carefully, read the question carefully. Because they will give you both the option. They have given you detrusor overactivity 2 times. With incontinence, without incontinence. We don't have any leakage, so it is only DO. It's
Without
not incontinence.
incontinence.
Yeah, so that's why this exam is difficult because you have to, you know everything. Everybody knows everything. But you read the question carefully in exam, what they are asking, and people are mugging up the recalls. They are not asking recall same. You have to read the question at that time and then find out the answer. Recall give you idea what they are asking, what they are expecting from you. Okay. The correct answer is the detrusor overactivity. This is defined as a urodynamic observation characterized by involuntary detrusor contraction during the filling phase, which may be spontaneous or provoked. There is no leakage of urine at time of the detrusor contraction. So no incontinence. Now this, who will read? Anybody? Yeah. What's your name?
Ma'am, Sunita.
Yeah, Sunita. Read. I think you have given part 1.
Ma'am, I have given part 2 in 2019.
Okay, July. Okay.
Yeah.
Now one of the student is there in part 1. That's why. Okay.
A 45-year-old woman presents with urinary leakage on cuff, urinary urgency frequency more than 6 to 8 times during the day and 2 to 3 times at night. Her video urodynamic stress is shown below.
Yeah.
The graph is showing the increase in the abdominal and vesicular pressure and no increase in detrusor pressure. So with leakage, it is urodynamic stress urinary incontinence. Answer is A.
Yeah, very good. Because they have given you both stress urinary incontinence and urodynamic stress urinary incontinence. We have done urodynamics, so just put the urodynamics in front. Answer is very right. Very good, Sunita. So answer is urodynamic stress urinary incontinence. Now this one, who will read? Anybody? Next. Volunteer. This is very easy. We have done uroflowmetry. Anyone?
May I read them?
Yes, definitely. What's your name?
Ma'am, Sunita again.
Okay, Sunita.
So Sunita, you become overactive. That's good.
What is the flow pattern most likely to be associated with?
This is the flow. This is the flow pattern. This was the first one we have done. So,
okay.
Outflow obstruction.
yeah, now you will tell me how you will assess, because we have done, we will differentiate between the obstruction and cystocele by the detrusor pressure. Okay. So in this, because in this female, it can be cystocele, it may be the urethral stricture. But
That's
the
right.
patient is passing its long term. If it is stricture, the patient have the prolonged phase. So it's not increasing. So mostly it is a cystocele. It will go in favor of cystocele. It's not go in favor of urethral stricture, because stricture, this is the flow time will increase. It will come to up to here. Patient is not able to pass here.
Ma'am,
But
can we
cystocele-
assess from this graph flow time? I don't know. I'm still confused with
Yeah, it's not given properly. It's not given flow time. It's here, seconds, but it is not readable. That's why I put the leakage also. So that's the one. In this, answer is the cystocele. I think scenario.
Ma'am, what is the thing? What is the thing below marked with green? I'm not able to interpret this.
That is the pressure she is passing urine. So that one. The correct answer is cystocele. This uroflowmetry pattern represents obstruction. Flow is prolonged and associated with reduced Qmax. Cystocele can cause obstruction through kinking of the urethra. Detrusor overactivity or urodynamic stress incontinence should not affect the flow pattern. A stricture typically produces a plateau pattern of the flow. So that will come continuously and it should be prolonged.
Yes.
So
yes.
yeah, so remember this, stricture will be prolonged, plateau, it's a long time. Patient will not able to pass urine in the shorter period of time. That's the difference. Now next question, who will read? That my slide spread. I think I will do this. Just a minute. Yeah, you can read this. It's
It's visible. Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah, read. You read, Seema.
I read. Okay. The next question. You see a 52-year-old woman at your urodynamic clinic, and her uroflowmetry curve is bell shape with a maximum flow rate of Pmax of 23 ml per second. TE post-void residual is 50 ml, which is fine, and multi-channel cystometry showing the involuntary detrusor contraction during the filling phase, which are provoked by the sound of running tap water. The maximum cystometry capacity is 450 ml. What's the most appropriate diagnosis? Well, so shall I read the options of answers, doctor, before we pick up? So
Definitely.
a normal bladder capacity, a detrusor overactivity, and no voiding dysfunction. Normal bladder capacity, detrusor overactivity, and voiding dysfunction. reduced bladder capacity, detrusor overactivity, and no voiding dysfunction. Reduced bladder capacity, detrusor overactivity, and no voiding dysfunction. And at the end, normal urodynamic studies. So in this case, so the bell shape is good. It was the normal, which is good. The residual volume is 50, which is at the cutoff of normal. And then the pressure of detrusor, the maximum Qmax is 23, which is below 25, which is up, it's normal. And then shows involuntary detrusor contraction. Yeah, this is a, I would answer because she has no leakage, but there are some detrusor overactivity. So I would say normal detrusor over. Option A, doctor.
Yeah, very good. Because
Option
it's a
A.
normal bladder capacity,
Yeah.
it's 450 ml. So 400
Yes.
to 600 ml is normal.
Exactly.
Detrusor overactivity, they have given you, that is provoked by the sound of running tape water. There's a
Yeah.
detrusor contraction. So,
Yeah.
and no voiding dysfunction because
That's
patient is fast urine 23 ml per second. So there's
That's
no voiding dysfunction.
Yeah.
So very
Yeah.
good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I hope I pass my exam, doctor.
Yeah, you are having the tension of exam. Don't worry, you will pass.
Yeah, doctor.
Definitely.
Inshallah. Got finger crossed. Yeah. Thank you.
Inshallah. Now
Inshallah.
next, Sunita, read.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
50-year-old lady with symptoms of mixed incontinence has urodynamics after failed pelvic floor muscle training and a trial of anticholinergics. What findings of P vesicle and P detrusor and P abdominal indicate a diagnosis of urodynamic stress incontinence? Option A is absence of peaks of pressure, rise in the running tapes, peak of pressure, rise in P vesicle, P detrusor, P abdominal cuffing with leakage, and peak of pressure rise in P vesicle, P detrusor, but not in P abdominal in filling phase. Sharp rise in P vesicle and P abdominal without rise in P detrusor with leakage of urine on cuffing. Sharp rise in P vesicle and P abdominal without rise in P detrusor with no leakage of urine on cuffing. Answer is D. Sharp rise in P vesicle and P abdominal without rise in P detrusor with leakage of urine on cuffing.
Yeah, very good. It's a sharp rise in P vest and P abdomen. There's no rise of P det and leakage of urine. That is a urodynamic stress urinary incontinence.
Yes.
It's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now this question, Seema, you know already. So I think other one person you will read. Yeah, this is a recall question. I know you know.
Okay.
That's anyone want to read this question and answer me?
Yes, ma'am. I'll read. I'll read.
Yeah. Your name?
Vimala.
Okay, then read.
Most likely cause of the following urodynamic results. Option A, genuine stress
No,
incontinence.
first read 21. 21 is these
21.
are, yeah. So that is the
Okay,
first
21
desire at 90.
90 ml. Bladder volume 200. Detrusor pressure on filling is 30. Flow rate per second.
Normal.
quite
Normal. PVR 50.
Normal.
Now give me diagnosis.
Yeah. First desire is at least 150 ml. She's having early 90. So bladder volume is 200.
So it is
Detrusor
reduced.
pressure is 30.
Bladder volume is reduced.
Yes,
Reduced.
reduced.
Bladder volume is reduced.
Detrusor pressure is 30.
Detrusor
It's more
pressure
than 50.
on filling 30.
So answer is
normal.
Answer is
Answer is
Detrusor
yes.
filling.
your voice is not clear, Vimla.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, now clear, now clear. Now give me answer. That is the patient first desire is very early at 90. Bladder volume is reduced, that is 200. Detrusor pressure, our cutoff is 15 during filling phase. It is 30. So, yeah, you are right. DEI, yeah. Second we will see. And third is a PVR is 50. So answer is?
So the answer is
So many people have written answer in chat.
D.
Yeah, it's DO, detrusor overactivity. So bladder capacity is reduced, urgency is there.
that's right.
So
Yes, yes.
yes, and detrusor pressure is 30 because it was 15 cutoff. So it's a detrusor overactivity.
Detrusor.
So like this also you can do only if you have mug up here the normal value. So you can compare. Second one is there, that is first desire at 100. Bladder volume is 300. Detrusor pressure on filling is 30 plus. Leakage on the stress.
Mix. This is mix.
Yeah, so this is mix.
This is
Flow
mix.
rate
Yeah.
is 20, 50
Yeah.
is there.
That's right.
And third one is the 150 first desire. Second is blood volume is 400.
That is, yeah.
Yeah,
Normal.
continuous leak is there. Patient have the
That's
very good fistula. It is a
I
fistula.
see.
Patient having
I
the
see.
continuous leaking, then
Yeah.
mean it is a fistula.
Doctor,
Good.
one of the question was about fistula in the recent exam. It said there
Yeah.
was a continuous leakage of urine. They given some scenarios, but the answer was fistula.
Yeah, that's very good. And you have done right.
That's all.
Because G for 23, G is chronic retention with overflow. No, overflow is not a continuous leak like this. The patient, they will give you scenario. The patient is leaking from the vagina. It's not from urethra. So that, as Seema told us, that there was a question in this exam, a big scenario, but there was continuous leak, and answer
That's
was
right.
fistula. So
Yeah.
they will give you scenario, not like this. They will give you half paper scenario. You have to read.
Yeah.
The question we have done, not a single question is like EMQ, because these are only practicing questions. They will give you half paper scenario. You have to read. They will give you 2-3 distractor in between. So you will go here and there, and afterward you will reach to the diagnosis.
That's right.
Okay.
Ma'am, answer to 22 is E only, no? I missed that part.
Yeah,
Answer
it's
to
a
question
mixed UI.
22.
Yeah, it's E because it's 30.
Yeah.
That user is 30. It should be 15 or less. Okay.
Right, thank you.
Okay, Ji. So that is a mixed. First is DO, second is mixed, and third is a fistula. And if very high bladder volume and no PVR, then chronic retention with overflow. So remember this. Very high bladder volume. They will give you, that is here, it's given 150. First desire bladder volume is 400. Retention, patient can retain up to 800 ml to 1 liter if the patient have retention. So
That's
remember,
right.
bladder capacity is 400 to 600, but in neurogenic bladder overflow, like incontinence, in this patient have the tendency to hold the urine up to 1 liter, 800 or 1 liter. So that is a differentiating point. Okay, thank you. We have finished, and this is for my course. Anybody interested can contact me. Okay, we are starting from 29 January. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much. That was very, very nice and clear definitions of all the categories. Thank you very much, Dr. Yasmin.
Thank you, Seema. Now, one question is there. Somebody have written. I will read and I will answer. Okay. That is, can give explanation on bladder diary, how to interpret bladder diary. Thanks. Yeah, bladder diary is very important. You will tell the patient to keep it for the 3 days. Why 3 days? Because the 5 days week in the UK. So she will keep on the holidays as well as the working days. So she will keep the bladder diary for the leisure days as well as the working days. Okay. What you will tell the patient, that is a pre-filled performer is there. She will write how much she is taking the fluid according to time. What type of fluid she is taking. That is very important because maybe she is taking the irritating fluid, like she's taking cola, coffee, or maybe she's drinking alcohol so much and she's not taking the water. Or maybe because nowadays is there that taking water is make your skin healthy. Can I get that? Yeah, I will upload over the YouTube. First, you listen bladder diary. Okay. So in this, you will elicit from that is what type of fluid she is taking and how much fluid she is taking. And she will write down every time how much she is, if she has to run to the toilet, that is urgency. So she will just do the cut and just mark it. Or she will leak on urgency, or she will leak on the coughing, sneezing, moving, dancing. This they have to write in this. And always remember the first void volume in the morning. It show you the bladder capacity, how much urine she is passing in the morning. If it is passing in the morning like 300, 400 ml, that means normal bladder capacity. If she is passing 100 or 200 ml, that means bladder capacity is reduced, and maybe she has the urgency. Because nocturia is there, she is have the irritable bladder, she is waking up again and again, and she is passing urine. So like this, we will do the bladder diary, and you can diagnose with the bladder diary easily. First is what we will see in the urodynamics, like the capacity of bladder. So first void volume in the bladder diary is the capacity of bladder. How much fluid she is taking, like she is taking 3 liter plus fluid, and she is taking only the cola, coffee, tea and the alcohol. So you have to reduce her fluid, that is 1.5 to 2 liter, and change the fluid, because she is taking irritating fluid that may be the cause of her urgency and leakage. So like this, we will do the bladder diary. I don't have the performer now. Otherwise, I can explain you very nicely. And you can diagnose easily. If she is running to the toilet, rush to the toilet, and she is leaking in between, then it is a urge incontinence. If she is leaking during coughing, sneezing, dancing, that is a stress urinary incontinence. If she is having both, then it is a mixed. So like this, you will evaluate the bladder diary. Okay. Any more question? Yeah, I will upload this. Definitely upload in YouTube, and then I will give you access. And please go through my YouTube channel, Be It MRCOG, subscribe and listen the part 2 videos. And one is the NHS CSP guideline. Old one is also there and new one is also there. Okay, good night.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Good night.
Good night, Seema, and all the best for the result.
Yes, Doctor, I will let you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully, I come for the part 3 preparation with you.
Inshallah, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Definitely.
Thank you. All right,
Good
then.
night.
Thank you.
Good night.
All right. Good night. Bye. Bye.